Wow, again. Okay. Peace, God. All right, we're online now. It's like I touch my phone and I lose the mobile hotspot. It's very delicate for some reason. Wait for everybody to catch up to my blunder. Never reckon that I may blunder again. Peace-wise, you. What's the science, God? All right. Just when I text you back, Saladin, I look up and you're there. Yeah, no, I had some technical difficulties. I lost my mobile hotspot when I moved my phone. Delicate ass mug. But then when I tried to go back in, I'm thinking I have to do a whole new video, and then I'm bugging out because the live I just made is still going on. So I'm like, how is this going on? Can I get back in my own class? So it's I'm literally locked out of my own class for a while. It was like, you know. Yeah, so that's Peace-wise, you. So DBO 89, peace and blessings. Haven't seen you here in a while. Or at least I haven't seen you. Doesn't mean that you haven't seen me, right? Maybe you might have been online and stuff. You know? All right, so how's everyone doing? How's everyone building? You know what I mean? One thing that we can say is that everybody's bracing for. People ask me about whether I'm at the school and everything like that, and you hear stuff about another lockdown impossible and other things like schools not properly opening or officially opening and whatnot. Again, that's why I update. I'm hearing a week-to-week basis, though. You know what I mean? I gotta check that video out, so I didn't have much time today for like more fun things. You know what I mean? But who knows? Ripping and running, brother. All right. I cannot tell you how good conversation with yourself can link with the word is bond for yourself. And then there becomes a whole synergy of how you achieve goals. You know what I'm saying? That's why I want all you brothers to, especially the brothers, got to be warriors in this. Have some kind of physical training. You know what I mean? Got to be doing some kind of physical training. And then your other work, whatever you're great at, though, you try to do it as intense as your physical training. You know what I mean? I try to move like I write, and then write like I move. Both of those things you envision. Both of those things manifest. You know? I always talk about the triangle of power, right? You know, what's your triangle of power? for a lot of these early classes when we were starting, I was always asking students, after I explained it, have you been building up your triangle of power? How have you been updating it? Trying to find somewhere where I worded this wonderfully. Somewhere in my notes here. The thing about notes is that when you don't find them in your notes, create it again. People get mad when they don't find what they had thought of in their notes. But it's a good thing, even if you can't find it, because it means that you said it. You know it's out there, which means you could create it again. So I wrote triangle of power, reading, training, writing. That's for me. But how are you preparing? Right? In other words, how do you study? How do you practice the study? How do you so you see that there, right? Right? The triangle of power. And again, it's the Wing Chun triangle of power. As that fist comes in, the base. But what's your triangle of power? How do you focus things? Right? And then what are the phrases that you say to yourself? You know what I'm saying? What are the phrases you say to yourself to motivate you? You know what I mean? Right? Self-elevation, peace, God. All right. Try to drop something. Sometimes as a teacher here, I think sometimes we have to place it as opposed to drop it. All right. See how we can place it. Just fucking with words. Saladin, peace. One thing I think about is predictive programming. Avengers Ending kind of readied us for COVID-19. I see what you're saying. I myself watched Avengers Infinity War and Endgame a lot more frivolously than you have. A lot of times I watch television. I watch it very frivolously. I'm watching it for the surprise of the story. Do they tell the story and go with the easy answers? Even if the answers are easy, though, do they go with a unique way of answering it? I think like, for example, with Avengers, there were a lot of easy answers. Like, for example, you can't have Spider-Man isn't gonna die. You know what I'm saying? All these guys, the characters aren't gonna die, right? Ironic, I'm saying that, and the great Chadwick Boseman return. Good man. Was the receipt the benefactor of paying it forward, but he did that himself, and I know that personally. Personal counts to me. Good brother. Remember imperfection. the sometimes I watch for a good story. Here's why. Here's how it's useful to watch something just looking for the story and letting it surprise you, not worrying about analyzing it so much. You know what I mean? Truth is, we could pretty much analyze everything. Not everything's as clear cut, dry as Matrix, obviously. Um, but we also, because of that, we also don't want to get nuts trying to overanalyze stuff. You know, like everything is about us overtly. A lot of stuff isn't about us because they don't know about us, or they don't understand it fully. You know what I mean? But one of the interesting things about a good story, right, is that it teaches you about you know what? I wish I had my journal with me. I didn't bring my journal, you know, and it's really you digital students' fault. When I don't have students in the classroom, I either read or write in my journal until students come. You students will always be here. You actually come on time. So the minute I log on is the minute that you're here, which is, you know, is a blessing, you know. And in these COVID times, though, it's been very slow to get the students back in the classroom. My regular students, though, they ask, but then I'm not. They don't always show up, though, which is fine. I have no qualm either way, though, whether we had a COVID or not. But I leave my journal at home because I don't want any excuse to not log on quickly and then open that journal and write down ideas and stuff. Um, it's always a long term assignment when I open my journal. But it was something I was writing about. I've been spending time writing about the Tao Te Ching, my favorite translation by John C.H. Wu. And what I've been doing is writing about whatever comes to my mind, however I see it, creatively, artistically, whatever it is, about each aphorism. So I was thinking about, I'm trying to remember what aphorism it was. Let me see if I go. I have all my books, but Google Books doesn't have a good search engine when you open it online. The app does, but not online. I'm nerve wracked about touching my phone. So I wouldn't be able to find it now because I'm looking through at least 1,800 books, but on my Google Books. But let me see if I can remember. It goes with the idea with stories. Uh, but this idea of making sure that you do things with foundation. This is one of the Tao principles. I forget which one. 20. It's in the early 20s because that's what I'm up to. And I'm paraphrasing incorrectly, so that's why I can't remember it. But the concept is that you would remember things, not excuse me, that you would prepare things and always be prepared. One of the things about the Tao is that you always would be yin, though. You never would reach the full, you know. And when you reach the full, you would always know how back to distill back. Um, Most described, like in the I Ching and the Tao Te Ching, which is the book I'm talking about the idea of a rainstorm. Even the greatest storm, how long can it last? Like a hurricane, everything. It only lasts a certain amount of time. It always ends, right? So in the Tao, there's always a major teaching is the idea of reaching your full intensity and going past the point, which could be detrimental to your chi, your well-being, right? Um, and it talks about being ready, being prepared, having a foundation. And of course, this is where the martial arts come in, where the martial realities start coming in, because it talks about being rooted. And it's clearly a martial concept, you know what I mean? And why does this all fit with the Avengers and storylines and stuff? What I'm saying is because to write these storylines, you have to plan in advance. So writing creatively is also a practice in writing histories in advance. Just happens to be not a history that is real. You know what I mean? But being that you all are the real superheroes, I could make that metaphor. But being the true and living gods and earths. But one of the things about the easy way story of Avengers is that they still, they did their best to write the story in a way that still surprised. Thinking offhand of recent things I've watched, I would say like a great example of storytelling. Writing something where the story takes the road, the more difficult road, and that probably would be, even though at the end it seems like that was the road that was obvious, but all throughout while you watch it, it's not really that. It doesn't seem that way. And that was probably what I recently finished watching was the Breaking Bad series. They did a lot of things that you didn't, that would be very difficult to write, and they often took the more difficult to write angle and work that. So, just a side thought. But I wouldn't worry so much about pre-programming, only because what's happening now with COVID is that what I worry about is all of us um, having such a suspension of belief, right? Which is healthy for the revolutionary. Suspension of belief. Necessary trait as a character trait. Necessary character trait. Peace, God.
How you feeling, love?
Everything's peace, God. A necessary character trait. The revolutionary, right? In that suspension of belief, because we see, no matter what we say, whether COVID is real or not, or we're in the midst of suffering and dealing with the type of oppression now of disaster capitalism, and it is no way new. It's been done for years, and we could say that it catapulted, not invented, but catapulted with the levees breaking in New Orleans. So, with that said, I would say it would be detrimental that with our suspension of belief, that it starts to erode whatever they tell us. In other words, be very careful that you don't get rid of the righteous ways and means, the righteous aspects of your daily life and culture, because that's also what they are saying to do. So in this case, because it's a virus, the preventative measures, you know what I'm saying? Don't throw away preventative measures just because they seem stringent, or even if you could prove that they are getting a benefit out of the preventive measures you're taking. Because unless you know how to deal with COVID and how to combat it, and are willing to guarantee that you wouldn't infect anyone else, or that infection is a falsity, then the nature would be to be preventive. You know what I mean? Preventive measures. And that's something that, because of the devilishment with disaster capitalism and its protocols, it makes us want to abandon preventive measures. And like I said, listen, most of this society will flinch and rebel against preventative measures, because, especially when it deals with health, because it's an allopathic society. It's designed to destroy, destroy germs and virus and disease once it makes itself apparent and is on a path of destruction. Okay, so in other words, you got to see you getting killed and dying or hurt first, and then we deal with it. So allopathic medicines, like, things that get rid of the symptoms and destroy the symptoms, nullify the symptoms, stop the symptoms, and then hopefully, in the end, it's really real. It would allow your immune system to still do the work. So don't get it twisted. Even in allopathic medicine, you're doing all the work. Germ destroys every last bit of, say, cancer in your body. You still have to have the fortitude to build up your body once again. It's difficult, very difficult, especially when you allopathically attacked and destroy every single area where that virus, cancer, abnormality, destructive abnormality was present. So anyway, long story short, I've been watching Black Panther all week anyway. Trust me, for the gods and stuff, the 6 degrees of separation between him and us is very small. And I'm just gonna leave that out there like that. But good storylines, you know what I'm saying? Interesting. Always interesting. Right? So I don't know. There's a lot of movies. My twin brother actually showed me a movie that had people wearing masks everywhere, and it was like Armageddon and shit. Right? All right.
Well, when we keep that in the family, it doesn't go out to the nation. We're never going to say anything bad about the brother. But if he doesn't pay,
793rd, peace of God, earth, civilized people in the universe, all right, as well as others. I like the way you had that, as well as others. You ain't got to give the love. I just mentioned that, but you ain't got to give the love to all the savages. You don't have to. But why is you poor and worst part of life and living the best part on this understanding day? Ability to see and perceive something clearly and born the best part, like growing in buckets when I'm limited with land. Understanding. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture. Get it, use it, got it, live it. That's the first 4 degrees in my supreme mathematics that I made for children. Okay. Of course, there's a Wing Chun, right? But there's a poor and a worst part of life and living the best part in this understanding day. Ability to see and perceive something clearly and born the best part, like growing in buckets when I'm limited with land. Saladin said, are there any books by Supreme Understanding written in different languages? I don't know. Go to his website. I think that Hustle and Win is in Spanish. I'm pretty sure that is. And others. Yeah, go look him up. Go look him up. He's got a lot of stuff. Peace, Young Dub. And he certainly was immortalized in Black Panther. You know what I mean? And a lot of the other movies. I thought the Jackie Robinson movie was made faithfully. It really is the same as the original. If you ever seen the original where Jackie Robinson plays himself, but It's a little bit more exciting. The James Brown movie, I didn't like the classic Ray Charles movie, but peace. Um, it did show because it didn't show the musical genius enough, the details of his musical genius. But peace, peace.
He's gone. You know where you have the goggles back there?
I have no idea, but I think they someone don't.
They some say you don't know nothing. You can hear all the time. You don't know nothing.
You heard it here first. If you heard it. All right. All right. I'm skipping over the banter. Keep it between, your brothers. No, all right, young Dub. All right. That's right, Saladin. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully they shoot it out before. Yeah, and it works. Well, it can work. It may not work. 793rd, agree with you. Yeah, peace. All right. The New Mutants movie. I don't know about that. I'm not as marvelly. I'm not as. Is that something that just came out, or they do whitewash these things? So let me know, how you see understanding. By my visual diagram I just built on it. I'm built on it. Repeat it later if you don't get that. How you see understanding. This is the beginning of the month though, so this is where, in your journals when you're using mathematics, you want to plot. You know what I'm saying? Saladin, so it all comes full circle, and this morning it wasn't because of Chadwick Boseman, but I actually trained the James Brown. If you ever invest in anything, in musically, in your catalog, and just beast out on one artist, it never is wrong to have a abnormally large collection of James Brown and all the affiliate um, albums, singles catalog. My James Brown catalog is at least 400 songs. So definitely gets the workout going. True Self, peace. All right. Okay, grab now came out and still at 9 and okay. Yeah, I like, when I tell you to study all types of books and read all types of things, that includes comics. I know it sounds corny to some people that might not be into comics, but and I am not a comic book reader. A lot of my students that are like, they make comics. I've published comics in my newspapers, and I came to have more respect for it as it's as great as artistic and creative endeavor as any movie or anything like that. Peace.
You got any more heavy plastic bags like this?
I don't know, God. Yeah, the Earth was asking. I don't know where they are.
She's got a bunch of stuff she has to take. And if we get out of the plastic bag, we want to stop all the stuff that they're going through.
Yeah. I wouldn't know, God.
I'm not going to get into it. I'm glad I see you. I ain't seen you in a long while, man. A long while, bro. Look, I know you.
Indeed.
This is. Wait till we. Okay. Wait. See, they're not used to you being here. I'm telling you, yo, come on, what's happening in the doorway, that's not how you do that. People are walking around listening to you in a classy. Come on.
True.
All right, I'm going out. I stayed long enough for them to bring and get this stuff. I want to go home. I don't know where it goes.
Yeah, but didn't know that. You guys putting me on, but I like for you as a reader to have a diversity of things, you know, to read novels, actual novels, like real novels, like whether it be Toni Morrison or it be really, really old. Um, and you know, don't discount. I'll even like reading the period pieces and stuff in the high the high gluten convoluted language and pristine um, languages of the period pieces. You know, Victorian dialect, all that. Read the classics of any kind. You know, when you see my beginner book list I give to you all, you see that diversity there, but that doesn't mean it includes everything. But it does mean that you can include anything and everything in there because, like I was building last week, the palette is something to develop. So you always want to develop your palette, you know, and diversifying your palette, you know, right? Okay, the tea is finally. Okay. Make sure. Okay, let me see. Saladin, I love comic books. Okay, it was a means of escape. Peace goes to the idiots. My own hero. Young Doug, tell me something. Is this the first time that you watch one of my class videos? Ever? Okay. Political education and civilization enrichment is this course. How to deal with the outside world and the science of everything in life, which includes the knowledge of self and everything that can be studied in this classroom, whether digitally or in person. The students receive a curriculum. In this curriculum, they're expected to work on themselves and work on their ideas and continue to build and engage themselves in a way that will focus on reading, writing, and communication skills that will advocate a greater development of them learning for the ideal student, meaning the typical student that would engage in this, in getting the full schooling of the gods and earths, which is the supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, and the 120 lessons. Okay, that's no problem. I just want to see where everyone's at. Any personal questions? Because I know online is a different beast. I'm going to explain something. You know, let me go on a little tangent here. Online is a different beast. So some people have attitudes and stuff, you know. Just know that if you're on this online and stuff, right? I've been teaching this class for 20 years. I have taught hundreds of students. If you're online and stuff like that, you want to learn this stuff, you've got to also add on with me off class. So if you're learning and you didn't really add on with me outside of this classroom, digitally as well, right? If you can't come here to New York City, you're not in the New York City area, then you're not really my student, though. You're just somebody watching this video. And that's fine. That's well and good. Hopefully the videos, you know, the things I say are qualitative enough that anyone that isn't even under the study can still study. That's a blessing, right? But with online, especially YouTube, understand that just like if you were in my classroom, I ask personal questions about people so I can know about them. Understand that if I do this in the classroom voluntarily, I got to know who's here, right? In my classroom, there's only one person though that I always know who it is when it comes to the students I know and come to know. But every new student, I don't know. So when you teach a class like this, you have to learn how to protect yourself. You have to learn how to in all facets, and that also means helping the student best. Because if you don't help the student, you're not really protecting yourself. You cause confusion, especially having a classroom like this where students are on all different levels of development, and with all different types of needs and wants and desires and what they would like to learn, right? Let alone talking about their personal skill sets and abilities and the time that they can be a student offline or outside of the classroom, right? So this week, if you were looking at the last class, I had someone, um, adding on, and I'm just mentioning this so people don't get an attitude because I'm not with all that shit. Is to get an attitude because I referred to someone that was a female as a sir, and this gave them license to say that they're not going to learn from me, and judging who it is that teaches you is a big deal to me. I put my resume out there and my works out there so that way you could judge who it is that is teaching you. Peace.
Pete, I'm about to break out.
That's peace, God.
All right, Pete.
And online, though, people's attitudes, they prevail. Understand this, though. Nobody's name here is real unless you tell me it's real. You know what I'm saying? And no one's name is, so, so absolute that I couldn't get confused. You know what I mean? But don't let your emotion make a bad decision. You know what I mean? That's what we saw out of some random person that was getting on me. Okay. Let me get the link right. This is a link to the latest column. All the columns are there for each class. Universal 7 peace. All right. Love victory. All right. Where you at with this knowledge yourself? Are you knowledge 120? Are you in the class just to see what the hell Sunez is really about? What the hell has he been doing in this classroom all these years and stuff? No one will get a snapshot. Every student will be taught differently. Every student will get something different. All right. On the 1 to 14. Okay. Now, Universal 7, this is not a criticism or anything like that, but things that would happen, though. If you were here or anything like that, right? Just know this. It doesn't mean that you can or you can't. I'm just saying that, just in case. I don't know. But it's really for the other students too to see. You got this. You're on the 1 to 14, though. You're out there, in Las Vegas. I some of the guys I teach, though, they out there. I know one guy that's from there, but he's not out there. Yeah, that'd be better said like that. But one of the questions is, do you have an enlightener? Who are they? What's the roots of your 120? If you're on 120, like, how did you get it? Where are the roots? You know what I mean? These are important questions to answer, right? If you don't know them, then, it becomes a problem, right? So that's important to know. Any person that's on here, though, can email me for the curriculum, the things that we do, any questions about anything, because if you were here in the classroom, you can ask me anything. or just the core, the direction and ideas you want. So if you're learning with someone else and you just want to add on different perspectives of things, and all that is peace. I have no problem with that. By the way, True Self, I don't know that book, Self Mastery by Jekyll L. Malik. I'm a hater though. I don't be reading a lot of books from niggas named L and shit, and all them Bay niggas, you know what I mean, and shit like that. You know what I mean? I came up though where a lot of these Moors were all talking shit, so I don't respect their mumbo jumbo, you know. But yeah, that's my that concludes the bias segment of the day for Sunez. Supreme scientist, you know what I'm talking about. That's why you laugh. You know what I'm talking about. Niggas talk. There's no such thing as black. I mean, look, these Moors changed and they flipped it and they wrote different books saying different shit. But in here, when we got this, oh, you're not really black because you're from this. It doesn't matter your lineage. It doesn't matter where you're from or anything like that, right? So I can't really, I can't pull out the congas and the timbales and nothing like that, right? Or anything like that. But black is not really real. That black is not really a real color. No black man is black. And I'm like, how many black people have you met that you're saying that black is not really a color? Because I met people that are blue black. It's shades of brown. They have books. I have them. You know what I mean? And the truth is, right, in the 80s, a lot into the 90s, a lot of the knowledge of self, meaning what we taught, no mystery, the black man is God, a lot of the knowledge of self, right? Okay, a lot of the knowledge of self became mutated and became a flimsy backbone for a lot of different sects, SECTS, and then each different sect of foolery ended up merging with each other. So that's why when you find Yorkians and then you meet a Moor and you're like, why does all these niggas talk the same dumb shit? It's because they're all merging together. You know what I mean? They're merging together, right? Into one mutated vessel, right? So don't get it twisted though. It's not like this hodgepodge of like spiritualities, like, oh, it's so deep, it's so spiritual here in Harlem and out in the boroughs and stuff. No, so there's just a lot of confusion and and religion was one of the hustles, and just like any hustle, there's a lot of hats, and a lot of hot dog stands, right? A lot of hot dog stands when it came to spirituality. Fucking joke, you know what I mean? So a lot of these books, though, be very careful that they're just not mutated self-help books. I'm not always a big fan. I've read a lot. I'm not a big fan of the self-help book. Now look at the background that I'm coming from, in the background of training that I'm coming from. That's why self-help books don't mean anything. They're usually hustles. If you want to read about how to live life and the righteous ways to live life as a seasoned individual, why would you read from people that didn't really study anyone and then write it as if they came up with it, or didn't say what they studied or anything, and just came up with this stuff, and reading self-help books from people that are 22, it's funny. Mind you, these 22-year-olds give no research, no hey, I looked at this, I looked at that. You know what I mean? If you study a lot of the cultural and philosophical works of our own people's ancient cultures, from the Taoists, the Sufic orders, the Zen, the Chan, the different Buddhist sects, you'll get more insight of a self-help quality than you will from like books from new niggas, And again, I can be on that. This is the bias section of biased segment of the class, you know. Um, okay, Universal 7 said, you do not have one. Definitely willing to some direction to build with the true and living in the physical form. Take down my email, Universal 7, and email me what you need and what you would like to know. And maybe we could build in like some kind of direction, you know what I mean? Because first off, if you're dealing with 120, you want to make sure that what the 120 you have is actually correct. Then you want to make sure that you know its root, like where it comes from, like what teachers it comes from, right? Okay. Y'all making me want to watch comics and stuff, you know? It's crazy. You know, I haven't read comic books in like almost over a year, you know? I did read a lot of even longer than that. I was reading a lot of comics when Black Panther was coming out because I was trying to read those new Black Panthers. Just getting them from the library and stuff. You know, somewhat entertained, you know. Very good. 793, you got to, yeah. True Self, I am in the 1 to 14 as well. Universal Self, okay, that's good. Brothers on the 1 to 14. Any questions on the 1 to 14? If you have, let me know. Oh man, yeah. Okay, that's peace, God. Okay. All right, so definitely, I like this network here, brothers, building with each other. Understand that my email's there too. If you want to ask me something, get the materials and references and stuff, whatever you would like. Kalam Islami, good question. Is Columbus half original due to his ancestors' mentality? Both. You know, he's a piece of shit half cracker. Yeah, that's it. He's a piece of shit half cracker. That's what he is. That's what Columbus is. You know? But because I said he's a piece of shit half cracker, it's the piece of shit part that is most prominently why he's half original. But certainly half original, you know? In some research, I have some students point out to me that the Southeast Europe thing might not be exact for where he's really from and stuff. When I deal with 120 though, those aren't the details that ruin it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that half original concept is very crucial, you know? Because remember, you also got to think, the history of Columbus and stuff and how he became so important, especially in America as a holiday, is very interesting. It really had to do with the half original. And we're talking about like, because I have brothers that are Southern Italian, Italian. Some of them don't see themselves as original. Some of them are Southern Italian and they know that they're original, but they are of an ethnicity that has deliberately passed. So that's why people say like, oh, Italians, they're white, but you cannot be completely white if you actually spent time to pass. That means that you actually were not white and you passed. Okay, if you were white, you would never have to pass, right? Okay, so in this case, making the holiday of Columbus and stuff is a very interesting history. It's one to look up. People look up Columbus and his history, but I've learned a lot, especially with the God Crown Energy Bee, about Columbus and his impact in helping. Honestly, I don't want to use the word helping, but in aiding and abetting the 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 heist, the great ethnic heist of Italians mainly comprised of Southern Italians, swarthy individuals to pass as white, you know. But let's see what we have here. I'm just banging into everything today. Okay, so by the way, that's also the case with Musa too, because the half original thing. Well, not so. Musa wasn't, there's no details that the particular Musa, because Musa is a title of teacher or a great civilizer. Stone Legacy George James mentions Musa as a title. The this idea of Musa is because he was teaching trick knowledge. He was teaching everything to them. Okay, not just one linear way of becoming, right? He taught them how to build homes for themselves. In other words, how to give to society and sustain oneself in a society, be productive, but also telling lies, stealing, how to master the original man. So that would make him, ultimately that particular Musa a piece of shit as well. And it is one of those days. Right? I don't have it for glasses today. Okay. Well, that's peace, University. Thankfully most students don't take notes though, but now we have it able to rewind and stuff like that. Take notes, but don't leave anything unanswered that you feel you get an answer from me. Okay. It's important that we find or that you have 120 that has a historical root. If your intention is most honorable and you decide to be being a true and living God and you want to teach brothers out there and sisters out there, then you would want to have know the lineage. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have to have a 120 where you know that. No, Kam Islami. No. I don't think it's our role to, to go out there and try to figure out everybody who's original, everybody who's not, and stuff we define who's original, and it is for them to take note and them to honor it themselves. Not going out there. He's original. He's devil. He's this. He's cracker. He's it's a waste of time. Okay. All right. I see some good back and forth about the frustrations about the New Mutants movie. I'm guessing, right? Okay. Right. By the way, since we were talking about the Dow, the last article I had written for the 5% Media was called "Build Like Water." I was riffing off Bruce Lee saying "Be like water," but I was trying to show you that to never dull your palate being extremist with something, but diversify it. Never stop building. Just keep moving, flowing from one thing to another, going as hard as you can, and then flow to another thing. And that versatility is going to be your strength. Okay. Jude, I don't know how long you've been in the classroom today. That's interesting. I was just talking about how you speak to yourself, because that's really what the affirmation is for, right? Peace 13 student. Okay. The affirmation is for something to take hold. I have affirmations that I repeat when I'm training and stuff, and some of them are very functional. They're very functional to the task at hand. So to keep the mind, let's say, for example, the mind muscle connection. So that way, after every single rep of anything, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about it. Certain ways of speaking to myself, uh, to focus on the muscles and not other aspects that could get injured, or overcome that certain injuries, right? And I that happens a lot. You know what I mean? So that science is how you talk to yourself. How do you create the world? The world is created by what if. The question, what if? What if? What if? What if I? What if I? You know what I mean? And then now when you have that what if though, then you're doing, and you say, I do it this way, do it this way. You have to do it this way. You will do it this way. Right? What do you think of a guided visualization? One of the great genius basketball players of all time, in my personal favorite top 5, is Allen Iverson. And he didn't really practice, right? He didn't practice, right? Didn't practice, not a game. If you read his biographies written about him, or one of them was written about him, that he didn't really do a lot of practicing and stuff. By the way, for a guy like him that played seriously hard, it probably was a mechanism to keep him lasting long. Intense practice plus the beating he took probably would have shortened his career. So I forget guys like him, like my childhood hero Isaiah Thomas. He didn't have he had a long career, but it ended at 32 and stuff, and it was ending by the time he was 30 because he took so much hits. But Allen Iverson would spend time before the game and visualize what he was going to do, like how he's going to rip people up, how he's going to do that. Come on, the crosser, I was going to break you up, right? That guided visualization is the beginning of the affirmation. In other words, the beginning of the way that you do it, though. So let's see, break them off. You know what I mean? Break them 1, 2, 1, 2. There's a rhythm to it. What is the rhythm that'll kick in? What is the rhythm that'll kick in? What is the rhythm that'll kick in? Right? That way of doing it. Right? And then when it's repeated and has a level of insight that is in it, it becomes a mantra. Because it becomes something to say because it's filled with insight. You see? Mantras aren't something you just read. They're something that people have created. And they created it for that reason, which means that you could make your own mantras as well. And you should have your own affirmations. Okay. So certainly I have many personal mantras. When I keep telling you about the triangle of power, what do you think that is though? What do you think that is though? I'm constantly focusing on my daily life on the triangle of power. So if there are moments where I don't feel myself, there are moments where I don't feel good, I think about that. What is my triangle of power? What are the things that I can take in, use, and then create with? This is the understanding. The mantra is really like that understanding. You take your understanding, and that is what becomes the culture. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and then the culture. Get it, use it, you get it, right? You get it, use it, got it, and you live it. You know what I mean? And then sometimes that becomes a mantra. How to keep things simple, how to overcome the fear, the negative, right? A mantra of who you know you actually are begins with affirmations of who you know you should be. Okay? So let me write that down. Mantras, who you know you are in read that right there. Okay? We all have mantras. You know, we all have to make mantras in our own mentality. We all should look at the ancient text and look at these as men that lived long time and studied many great men and have figured out a way to at least live honorably and ethically. Maintain an ethos, maintain a mentality, right? Because when it is not naturally there, then we have to define it, right? Okay. I'm a little behind here. Okay. Seed mantras. Okay. That's interesting. Seed mantras. Okay. Got to the point where nothing stays in my head. Then you're not using it. Use it. Nothing's going to stay in your head if you don't use it. It has to become something. Your affirmation has to be, I will do this. But then you have to do it. And then when it's done, then you will know the nature of your own mantra. So just go do it. Keep talking about stuff. Do it. When you do it, then it'll be known. Okay. And this is why sometimes, like 13 students, get a very intense. You start out brief and intense, not long and drawn out and weak. Brief and intense training session to train your body. Because one of the best ways to learn discipline, to learn how to develop affirmations that push you to where you want to go, want to complete, and make mantras and sayings that define what you are as you are doing things. Sometimes are best seen though when we do things physically. Something simple, you know? Figure out the parts of your body that need training and say, listen, this is a little bit of hit. Jump rope. Calisthenics, ab work. It's quick, 20-minute workout. Intense as possible. Okay? Feel it. You'll know it's intense though if you have to pull back due to injury, not tiredness. Okay? Not tiredness, but you feel the injury coming. Okay? when you start to do stuff like that, then you start to be more engaged with what that concept is and what it have a physical manifestation of what that concept is. Okay. Why do you think people like great ones like Kobe and stuff had such once because he was a very learned and schooled person, it was very easy for him to articulate what he was living because he had a very physical reality of that. Okay. Why do you think that so much of the Tao and so much of the of Chan Buddhism and Zen Buddhism is articulated so well is because of the martial artist. Okay. This thing scrolls so evilly. Mr. G once said today's supreme mathematics is understanding. I see that as the manifestation of one's knowledge put into activation, of the development of one's knowledge, and the discernment to the point of clarity and ability to clearly grasp the meaning mentally. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'm getting ready to break out, God.
That's peace, God. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, you know. I think for us, any type of training though, I'd be very plain with it. Any type of physical training has to be done. And every type of physical training that we do has to lead to some martial capacity. I don't why why how do we get to build with the youth, talk about a greater enlightenment, talk about a path that nullifies oppression, but we're not giving them no fight skills? Trying to look okay. All right, if there are any questions, let me know, okay? Right now, with the people in the class right now, I just want to take a break, see where I could redirect it and give everyone that's here something that is useful and particular to them. In the regular classroom reality, this is what happens. I don't just teach what I feel like teaching, so it's different every day. I actually have to go back and forth with the student. So that way I can share insights that are useful, not just what I feel like teaching. Okay, anybody have any questions about anything, the next level that you were trying to get on? I think my beginner book list, I'm going to have to update it because there are some books in there that are outdated, not as good. And some of them are actually, I mean, they're out of print, man. They're just, it's got to be a beginner book list. If you can't begin and ever get them, how could you begin, you know? Right? That would be a problem, right? Can't begin if you can't get them. So there's a lot of updating and other plus lessons, but to share, but I'm not so sure we're all ready. Okay. It's funny. I'm doing the knowledge though. I always forget. It's a Jude, and I forget the usernames and stuff. I forgot. I didn't realize it was you, God. I was like, yeah, that's a question very similar to the train of thought. You know? I do. You know, it's such a simple startup for someone that is just trying to be vegan. That's why I've always loved that book. It actually was a book that he was giving out free too, so it wasn't much of a dig. I should have it though. You know, but I want to. You know, there's some that vegans been a kick for a while. So vegan athletic books have also increased. So I want to get more. Jammy Jam, you were writing a little bit more abstract than useful right now. You said, I wanted to say that I see understanding in degrees and also as the sun, moon, and attracting power on the earth, making everything from hurricanes to pristine sunsets. So how is that understanding? I'm just challenging you because you said it. 13 student, I'm not following your train of thought. Since you said I'd be on Seaside to Mars. I'm a little ignorant. Please enlighten me on that. Can you learn to be a teacher at the same time, true self? True self, you can, because I don't know a damn thing. Right? I'm learning all the time. Okay? The good teacher is just someone who's learned a little bit more and is just more trained in sharing what he knows. Doesn't mean that he knows more. It just means that he knows how to teach what he knows. He knows how to share it. Okay? Okay. Yeah, 13 student, you're writing in fragments. So if you're writing to me, I don't know what you're saying. Jamie Jam, the sun is knowledge, drawing up the wisdom. Is it? Sounds good. But Jamie Jam, you're just playing with metaphors though. How is that an understanding you could use? Right? Take that metaphor and show me how you use it daily. Because I'm a poet too. I could play with these metaphors. Okay, I've written whole books playing with metaphors. Okay, I won't get by in here doing the metaphor. All right, all right. Stillness is the ability to quiet your thoughts and make your mind your focus on a singular point. Meditation, you can mindfulness practice. Right. But listen, right? You could sit and think and just say mindfulness. Just say that word. Right? And that could be a mantra that kicks in things for you. Right? Okay. All right. Hey, just a reminder, because I'm getting on 13 student because I have no idea what he's talking about. But when you try to use full sentences when you write here, or like if you're actually talking to me, not in fragments, okay? So I know if you're talking to me, I don't know. Jammy Jam, using it to illustrate the varying degrees of understanding, how understanding will always change based on degrees of knowledge and wisdom. How is that so? How is that so? Sounds good. And I'm being hard on you, Jammy Jam. I don't know your righteous name or anything like that, or I don't remember because there's a lot of people here. Using it to illustrate the varying degrees of understanding and how understanding will always change based on how understanding. Okay, will always change. Okay. Understanding could remain the same. You know what I mean? Right. But yeah, it's just a general statement and it's not generally wrong. 13 student. Oh, don't make me fail you in this classroom. You're being taught by someone who's a writer and an author. Don't say that you're tired of writing. Write it right. That's why right has the same sound as right and exact. Write it right. Our people made up writing. The original man. I don't, in this classroom, with me, I don't want to ever hear an excuse though about a form not being good enough to write in. I can't express my feelings in words. Figure the shit out. The most complex idea is a creator creating everything. And we've answered it saying the true and living God, the original man. Okay? Now, if you're driving, don't crash the car, right? But yeah, so, and don't cause confusion if you can't write. That's a physical ailment, right? But yeah, no. If you physically can't write, that's different, if you're here, write it right? But 13 student, keep it in the head and send me the email again. Let's get back on the email thing because you still haven't answered some of my questions in the email. Okay. Nah, Supreme, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I would be the kind of guy to know that, but I don't. Yeah. Finding fault and in the history of the. Oh man, yeah, I would like to see that book. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know. They're just using a basic, a really quality copier and making PDF copy. Or just scan, a good scanner. It's probably how these PDFs are made, God. So it just be a quality scanner that would be, that's what I would think, So at least I make a rudimentary, decent enough copy. Okay, Jammy Jam. Yeah, that's what you said about the web. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I see it. I see where you're going, Jam. I see that, Mr. G1. Yeah. And that's why I press them harder. Do you realize that people have a language barrier? They are miles and miles and miles away, and they made it to the cipher where they actually are talking to me and asking me questions and able to build with me indirectly. So don't stop. Don't. And I'm not saying 32 is doing this at all. It's all good now. Now that he told me he's driving, I don't want him to drive and write down a complete sentence and kill himself. But we have a tendency to have a reason for great struggle and great triumph because we struggled. But a lot of times it's really just jogging through the finish line. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a fuck about the fucking 25 miles and 26-mile marathon. Nobody gives a shit how well you ran it. The 25. You run through that fucking finish line. That's a mantra. Don't jog through the fucking finish line. That's a mantra. You know what I mean? Affirmations. You know what I'm saying? Finish the shit you start. These are affirmations, though. They're vile, they're everything, but how do they stay in your head? You know what I mean? Right? See, the thing is, Jamie Jam, nothing stays the same. And yet, we are consistently the true and living God. Stay the same, but still have the same basic ideas of weather, same basic ideas of sunset, sunrise, right? There is a consistency in change as well. And the first is that change is consistent, right? All right. All right. So, at the understanding day, try this, and break up the entire month in brackets for yourself. The single digit days, the teens, and then the wisdom cipher days. And then this month we reached the 30th only. The 30th, you'll evaluate how you worked all of it. So what you're doing in the single digit days is giving yourself details of a direction in how you see these degrees, and then how you work them, right? Like what are the understandings you're going to absolutely carry with you? This is the exercise. It's a monthly exercise, though. I could have gave it at the end of the month, but we missed a few days, so being at the classes on the 3rd. You think of the most essential principle of each mathematics. Not some shit that you're going to say, when you see the older God and they're about to bomb. No. How you see it and what's most important to you and what you intend to do. Okay? How you want to be if you don't know what you're going to do. Okay? But certainly with how you want to be. When you get to the double digit days, this is where you start to say, what are the particular things, right? What are the particular modes of information, right, that can actually elevate, right, the particular principle that the particular understanding that I gave each degree, okay? Literally adding what is the essential knowledge to it. Then when you get to the wisdom cipher days, then now what are my tools? And see, that's why it takes a whole month, because when you think about the type of, I want you to live it. I don't want you to answer it all in one shot. That's why I say let it take a month. What are the actual sources of information that allow you to build on each particular degree, as far as how you see it and how you pick this is my crucial understanding of culture and how I live it. This has to be actual. It has to be living, not something you're going to give to pass the assignment, to get by at Parliament, to get by in the corner, but your own life. Then now what are the sources of information that you use to not only gather that, but what can you add to it in that vein, in the knowledge cipher days? When you get to the wisdom cipher days, then now with each principle, each degree, 1 through 9, what are the actual tools that you are using, right, to establish that principle? So it'd be the wisdom of my understanding of wisdom. The 22nd day, my wisdom of the understanding of my understanding of wisdom. What is the tool of my understanding of wisdom right now? My most important tool, or the tool that I could get for it, the tool that I must. Some of them could be that you don't have them. Some of them could be that you do. Okay. It's not an easy assignment. I'm gonna write it out. You know, if you really want to do it though, then I will write it out. Oh, that's a good one, man. Okay, I didn't look here. I was saying all that. Jammy Jam, is that question for me? If it is, it's fine. I don't know. It's for me. In my journal, I try to make these type of assignments that take long periods of time, something to make journal writing a little bit more interesting, um, and give assignments like that. You know. Okay, Jamie Jam. Everything, right? My podcast, my 2 podcasts that I work on, host. Those are daily work, right? Daily research. There's a bevy of books that I'm editing. My own book. I'm editing one of them. I pretty much decided my next book, so I have to complete that. I don't want to give the name yet. Most likely my book on knowledge of self and the martial arts, linking that. Um, avidly studying the martial arts daily. That's a daily lifestyle. Takes up a lot of my time. Wonderfully, right? The books that I'm writing. Also, too, I'm not going to put it out there, but um, all of it. But because I do so much in hip hop, I get asked to do a lot of songs with people, and I'm not a rapper. Okay, I'm not a rapper, but I will build, right? So honestly, like a lot of the times, I'm thinking of the songs and skits, and creative skits, poetic songs, songs of poetry and prose, songs of poetic prose, really. I'm working on one now for brother Sadat X, and I think that's the one coming out most now. Sadat X has and Aguilar have an album, and I have a song on there. My man Willie Ways has an album coming out October. I have a song on there too. Right, so they're in the poetic prose. So these are the things I'm building, right? Along with my books and stuff, and podcasts and stuff. Power Right Show, tune in, right? With this COVID, I've been bi-monthly, but working when my schedule gets better, more consistent, then I can get it back. I can work it weekly. Right? And DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio, I'm a host of. Right? So I was always building, always creating, and when I'm not doing any of that, I'm doing my most important job, raising my 2 daughters, guiding them, building with them, right? Giving them love, right? That's the daily life, and a lot of writing, a lot of training, right? And everything feeds off each other. And also, right, 5% media, right? Well, you say an act of being creative, making, owning. I just name stuff that I all own. I own all these shows. I own all these songs. I get royalties from these songs. You know what I mean? They're my children. They're my books. When you buy my book, I tell you, I get all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get, let's see, yeah, my profit margin is large when I give books. So, you know, so when you say as in being creative, making, owning, yeah, I own all that shit, right? And you know, and some songs I do it off the strength. So whatever I don't own, I created fully, and whatever I don't own is because I gave it, right? I shared it, right? Yeah. A lot of these songs that'll come out, they're years before Papa Wu returned to the essence, you know. Remembered in perfection, the great God, freedom Allah, you know. I definitely do a little bit different than a lot different than freedom though. You know, he's one of a kind. What do you mean by is it really worth it? So is it really worth it? What life, loving, you know, um, creating, writing? That's what I do. That's what I write. I've been writing since I was a kid. You know, every time I write something, whether it's in a journal for publication, whether it's for publication, whether it's to sell, whether it's an email to one of yous, whether it's a post. Um, Jammy Jam, you said monetarily. I didn't think of it monetarily. All of these things, you know, they became monetary things. I grew up doing hip hop, so when people look back at what I did in hip hop, they'll have to say that I changed it. I have to, because the writer and journalist wasn't an element until I said it was so, you know, and the forefathers like Bones Malone and all of them, they didn't have they were the element and they weren't told, they weren't said. So it's just a lifestyle. It was just a lifestyle. So things I was living. So monetarily though, no, I don't know. But in this hellish life, it gives me streams of income. It gives me versatility. You know what I mean? This one is very creative, you know, Jude. Very creative, God. I can't really give all the details because it's a very unique concept, you know, so it's a very creative concept. But it's really about the mentality. It's not a kicking and punching book, you know, instructional book like that. It's more on the mentality of how, and you have to, you have to, just like I creatively wrote it, you would enjoy it like a creative piece of art and get the insights out of it that would show the mentality of the martial arts lived through the knowledge of self. Right? So that would be the thing. You know? Yeah. That's Peace 13 student. Yeah. You know? But it certainly is worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's worth it. Why do I love hip hop so much? Is because forms that demand originality reflect the nature of the true and living God. And that's why I could say it's one of the reasons why we ended up hearing all those lyrics like that and how it came about. I don't practice kata because I'm doing kung fu. They don't really have katas though. They have forms. And the way I learned them, they're highly adaptable to your nature. So I don't memorize shit as far as forms, except the Wing Chun forms, you know. Those we practice and learn. I really just Silam Tao is what I know really well. The other forms I practice, but I forget. You know what I mean? I forget. You know, it's very much about the nature of it. You know what I mean? This book, you'll see when I release it and I explain it and how it is. You'll see what I mean by how it's not an instructional book at all. I don't think that I respect martial artists too much to say that I would know it even at a level where people should listen to the way I think it ought to go. You know what I mean? But yeah, so no katas like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Pretty much, right? Fruits from the tree of Sunez. Yeah. It's a small tree, but it's got a lot of branches. Got a lot of branches. The thing is, everybody should, you know, engage in some type of creativity. You know what I mean? The reason I can be creative in things is because I practiced a long time and figured that there had to be a way that I could express myself. And I always found all of the four elements of hip hop very limiting because I didn't want to represent myself as something, as an artist or as this entity, you know? And plus, shit, a lot of the elements I wasn't good at it at all. So that doesn't help either. You know what I mean? But the concept of hip hop is a lot like the concept of how we should have ideas. You know what I mean? Right? Okay. What do you mean by if? I don't know. You talk about martial arts. I say if mine. True self, part of self just turned back and had a quote. Okay, that's peace. Any info on financial advice as far as just starting out as a young man, first place? I got two daughters from two different mothers though, so my first advice would be keep your own money. If you get that one. But as a young man, no, learn to save and think of ways to invest. You know what I mean? It's funny, Jam just popped up intellectual property. You know what I mean? Figure out your intellectual property. You know what I mean? But learn to save, learn to invest, buy things that have that don't depreciate. You know what I'm saying? Right? Make sure you have a good savings, especially now. And because of this hip hop career, that I use not as my main income, but as as the multiple streams of income that allow me to, have some kind of quality of life, develop multiple streams of income. And that's why engaging in different things and learning different things is so important. You know what I mean? Right? So important. So again, I'm hardly a financial whiz at anything. You know what I'm saying? I know that budgeting and making the most of everything that you do is important. That doesn't mean that you have to be cheap. You know what I'm saying? Some people are so cheap that they actually lose money. You know what I mean? Right? It's the old polo argument, right? You spend all that money on polo, but you know, I rock shirts that are about 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's still good. Right? Like this shirt right here. You know what I mean? Shirt is old as hell. Very true, Jammy Jam. The fear and everything like that. You know what I mean? But the truth is, if you think of it this way, creativity comes out of the unknown. When you create, what once was unknown is now known. So you're always creating out of the unknown. So you should look at things from the vantage point of you creating something as opposed to you diving into someone else's reality. You are bringing your creation and then thrusting it into the world. Look what I said here. Look. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and then you live it. It's here. You got it. Get it, use it, got it, then you live it. You have to realize that you're not going in to an unknown vessel. That vessel has one variable that can always be answered, and that is you, the knowledge of you, and the things that you intend to bring. And instead of looking at the unknown with fear, which is going to happen, what you don't know, what is out there, look at it as more of things that will inspire. You see, because the unknown that you encounter is also the inspirations of you, the things that will inspire you. You know what I mean? And that's important. So the fearlessness is because we know it has to be that way. It has to be unknown. It has to be something new. It has to be something that we haven't seen that is going to inspire me. This unknown will inspire you if you look at it that way. It's all how you look at things. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's peace, God. Right? The journey of a creator starts out with the intentions of being a creator. Okay? Who knows if how good they'll be with something, right? Books in regard, yes. Think and grow. It's total money. Budget, save, invest, give. It's good advice. You know what I'm saying? Good advice. You know what I mean? Invest in yourself. You know what I mean? Invest in the way you will present yourself. Invest in the things that you're going to learn. And when in doubt, invest in things that just make you a learned individual, that make you a cultured man. Those will always have fruit. If not now, they eventually do. You know, they eventually do. You know, that's never